Is Putin considered a good president? Do Russian people like Putin? Russian leaders are best described in terms of too hard, too soft, not as bad as, which leaves no space for being good. Technically, one of them can't be called not as bad as because of being the worst, but it's just an illusion coming from straightforward formal logic. In fact, it just does not work this way. Because let's say Boris Yeltsin is not as bad as Peter III, but at the same time, Peter III is not as bad as Boris Yeltsin. Since 1991, the standard of living in Russia has fallen from the European average to a standard of living lower than in India by 1999, with a salary of $50. In 20 years, 5 years of Putin, the salary level has increased from 50% to around $1,000. Maybe someone could have done better. The only problem is that all of Putin's critics, directly or on an ideological level, turn out to be the same ones who brought the country to a salary of $50. How did it happen with the Navalny Foundation, which turned out to be funded by the Rothschilds, from whom Putin's government seized illegally privatized, tax-evading Yukos after a failed coup attempt in Russia? I will not say there that the formal leadership of Yukos in Russia consisted of organized criminal groups engaged in racketeering and contract killings. I think you yourself understand how ridiculous it is, with all these facts, to try to say that the same Rothschilds are driven this time solely by altruistic motives, wanting to bring genuine democracy, true freedom, and universal prosperity to Russia. Therefore, yes, that's right, 85% of the population approves of the policy of the Putin government. Classically liberal economic policies have made Russia successful and very attractive. I compared costs of living to salaries, the PPP-FX rate adjusted for under or overpricing, and Russia is better off for most people in any given BRICS or Five Eyes country other than India or the US for software engineers. I used Claude AI and compared for RNs, electricians, chemists, builders, and engineers. FIFO work in Russia for STEM or trades is the best. Compared to Australia, it's neck and neck for early career chemists. Early career builders are better off, but for those professions mid to mature career, you are clearly better off in Russia, more so for FIFO work. His homesteading plans are how the US built the states west of the Mississippi. I'm Korean, married my husband from Russia. I don't think I can tell how good Putin is as a president, but I support Putin somehow. For diplomatic matters, Putin and Russian scientists did help so much to advance STEM industries in Korea. Also, I've seen so many Russian travelers coming to Korea just for shopping, which shocked me to death because I thought and believed the fact that they must have helped Russia more for mutual trust by Russia and Korea. What a stupid girl. They were wealthier than me and my family. No needed to worry about them, though. Of course, all happened before the Shirv War, yet Putin and his friends still help a lot. For example, Korean military industry has been improving since the war, and after all, some people collect weapons left in Ukraine and research it for free. You have no idea how good Russian weapons are. They are free, and I and my family spend a lot on Russian products only made in Russia by Russian companies and Russian people. Better quality and reasonable price, so why not? Thanks to Putin and his friends, I and my family really enjoy all. I don't like him, but I don't like his opponents even more. The Russian opposition is doing everything to cause nothing but disgust. I don't know, maybe they are actually paid agents of the Kremlin. I know why. Who said we are? But if you take, let's say, not the urban intelligentsia or Reddit tier shut-ins, but more regular folks, they often like him for lifting Russia off its knees and using a strong position, whether it's diplomatic or military, in international diplomacy. Far from all of them, but often.
It's actually more complex that folks are stupid in general and affected by the propaganda. But even though people are an important factor indeed, and all of the apples was potential Putin seems better than what Russia had in the last 100 years. People make commies and Yeltsin. Also, the even for urban intelligentsia. Many people are afraid that things can become worse, about horrible 90s. For me, commies' time looks much worse. People in large cities like MSK and SPB live quite well, even compared to Europe. Yes, inflation is high, US one was high too in 22-23, and taxes recently were raised, but all of it. Incomes are large, mobilization is mostly done in other regions, infrastructure is super developed, transport, lager, education, etc., and lager justice. Finally, Putin's oligarchic government seems quite the same to the US and other countries. There are some wealthy guys who are for him. There are some who are against. Look at Prigozhin coup. But what is the difference without region it? All I want to say is that propaganda has some strong basis in real world, why living in modern Russia is good, and otherwise it wouldn't work back. Like, I'm neutral to him. He was stupid enough to start the war with military being prepared only in papers of his corrupted generals, but a civilian life in Russia managed by guys like Mishustin is quite good, so I can tolerate that. He's obviously clever. Whatever you think about him as a person, he became the Russian president and has essentially remained there for 2 decades. You don't do that if you're a schmuck. He was in intelligence. That alone makes him smarter than average. Rising from there to president and staying in power for 2 decades, he must be smart and scheming. Here's the view from Ukrainian. Unfortunately, he's definitely clever and most importantly, he knows when someone better than him in certain areas and makes him allows them to do the job. For example, his economic team is very strong and managed the wartime economy very well so far. And during COVID, he doesn't have this kind of approach as other autocrats when they tried to decide on every policy, like Erdogan was forcing central bank to cut interest rates. He is clever and very, very dangerous, and all of his words should be taken seriously, even if it's bullshit. His propaganda machine doing a great job, especially in the country and in Global South. His efforts in undermining Western democracy give results, even though only few Western leaders truly recognize it. However, he also has weaknesses. He is delulu in some of his views. He was certain that at least half of Ukraine waiting for him to liberate them, but in reality, very, very few, and they stayed quiet when the invasion started. Also, if he wanted to control Ukraine, it was a bad decision to annex Crimea and start full-scale invasion. Before that, Ukraine was around 50% pro-Russian, and he could easily play on political instability. With no sanctions, no war, no losses.
I think he's very clever. I remember Obama saying, Putin doesn't play chess. The man plays the long game and clearly baits people.
The ultimate Bond villain? Memes aside, he is. Remember, Russian Redditors are times more pro-Western than the median Russians. You may even read something like, "Wish NATO saves us," here, while IRL, such a speaker, will get instant health problems without any police involved. According to the official data, he got 87.28%, with 77.44% of potential voters visiting the election. With 87.28 times 0.7744, it was 67.589% of potential voters, including those who live abroad, read the opposition, voted for Putin. These numbers are absolutely true. It's false that everyone who didn't vote is in opposition. Most are not. They know he will win. 80% plus support is very real. I remember the 2018 elections when many companies or even universities advised people to vote, but people were not interested. They even had to buy voters with salary bonuses or session closings. This is not the case now. I spent the election days moving around the city, business issues, and saw long queues to vote everywhere, which had never happened before. The secret is very simple. Our partners proved every word Putin dropped. Putin said Kievan forces were Nazis who could not accept Russians in eastern Ukraine. There were Donetsk drunkards bought by Putin hate Ukrainian EU democratic way talks for years. Now we hear of re-education camps, or simply disposing of the Easterners every day. I bet no more than several percent of Russians are still delusional about what Kiev's regime is. In comparison to 50-50 some years ago, Putin said, "The West doesn't dislike me, it dislikes all of you." This view was always countered with, "We'll live together like friends without KGB in Kremlin." Well, the irony is that the most pro-Western people, like freelancers or migrants, suffered the worst. Right now, he can do anything. He has gained ultimate trust.
Thank you so much for watching until the end. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the next videos. In the meantime, check out the other ones. They're already waiting for you. Share your thoughts on this topic in the comments and tell your own stories. Wishing you a great day, and see you in the next one. Bye-bye.